Today's episode would not be possible without today's guest. And although that might sound a little bit obvious, today's guest is Robert Green, who is the CEO of Real Promotions, as well as the founder of Real Global Productions, which puts together Coffee Charged Conversations. Today, Rob speaks about having a dream and how he never gave up on that dream, even when other people did. Rob, what was life like growing up?
Sure. So we were three brothers. My parents were divorced when I was really young. So, I was probably 5 or 6. It was challenging. I think, we came from a poor background. I mean, at the age of 10, I was living in a caravan park with my dad and my stepmom and my brothers and half brother. And, I think life was, it was different back then. My dad worked on the mines and my mom was working in hotels. So I suppose, growing up, went through different situations, homes. My mom got remarried. Stepdads and all the fun stuff of, I suppose relationships and coming through that type of stuff. But, I think, I think that sort of set me up for a lot of my life when I look back at it. Was all the challenges growing up, with brothers. I was in boarding school by grade 7 or standard 6, as we know, so grade 8, I guess. I was in boarding school before that, actually, in standard 3. So grade 5 already, I was in boarding school because there was just so much instability. And it's probably the smartest thing my mom did was get me into a boarding house where there was structure and discipline and stuff like that. And then I went to Jeppy Boys in high school. Jeppy Boys, I flourished, I think, a lot. The school was good for me. I was not very confident. If I look at myself now where, I can stand up and speak in front of people and do things that it's cool. I wasn't doing speeches. I wasn't, the guy that's jumping up in class and making a noise. I was very much introverted, feeding off other people's behaviors. And again, some of the biggest skills I learned was at that time was just almost observing other people and how they act and why they act the way they act. I didn't know it then, but later on, as I grew older and started studying that type of stuff, human behavior through John DeMartini and stuff like that, that was when a lot of the pennies sort of drop, when you look back on life and you take moments and moments that you think made your life difficult were actually the things that were lining you up to grow and be successful and, gain confidence and become, someone you can almost be proud of, I suppose.
I feel like you've got to go through some sort of struggle in your life in order to get to the next level. Like no one gets anywhere further by chilling in their comfort zone.
Yeah. They say there's no book written of anyone's success that doesn't start with tragedy and heartache and hitting rock bottom at some point and having to really look at yourself and make that hard decision to turn things around. And I think for me that was probably around when I was in my mid-20s. I went through quite a rough patch and I hate that space.
So you mentioned to me previously that straight after school almost you went into being a blackjack dealer at a casino.
So I worked as a waiter, and the restaurant I worked at, Poor Boys in Pretoria, there were guys that used to come in. It was a 24-hour restaurant, so guys would come in like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. They would come in and have after work drinks, and I would serve them. And I became friends with them. And they basically worked in a casino at the time in Pretoria. It was when casinos were still in that phase, probably um, what do you call it? Daka, or weed is right now.
Yeah.
Weed's in that space where is it, isn't it? It's loud, it's on the fence, there's shops doing it. And the casinos were sort of like that at the time. Casinos were frowned upon in some ways, but there were loopholes, and so I was introduced to that sort of world. And Mike Zeidel, actually the guy that got me going, I couldn't work for their casino because I'd become friends with them. But he came to my house and actually taught me how to deal. So he taught me how to deal blackjack on an ironing board. So I literally had an ironing board at home. He brought a shoe and I learned to pull the cards. Taught me how to, the rules of the game. Taught me how to cut chips, basically. Showed me how to add bets on a roulette wheel. And that was my introduction to casinos. And then I basically went to a casino across town, the Boulevard Hotel. And I went for an interview and I told them I'd been to the UK and I'd done a training school there, but I'd never actually dealt on a live table. I came back to South Africa before then. And they gave me a table test and I passed, and that was me. I was off in my casino career, which spanned another 10 years from that time.
So obviously at a casino, you're dealing with a lot of money. What did that teach you about money from quite a young age?
So, working in casinos, first I started out learning. I think that was my biggest thing, was to become the best at what I was doing. That's where, I met one of my still lifetime friends now, Andrew Green. He was in the industry already, but he was a really good dealer at the time. And, I learned everything I probably could learn from him in the first 2-3 months that I was in the business. So I was learning from one of the best people, and that really set me up for casinos. Lessons in casinos: only believe half of what you see and nothing of what you hear. That for me was the biggest thing I learned in casinos. Was when you're watching people will tell you all the time they don't have money, but then next thing they're pulling out 10 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand. Guys will try borrow money, or you see so many things. And then so never believe anything anyone says just on face value unless you really know them. But I mean, take it in, but you don't have to believe everything. And I think that's, for me, is important. And only believe half of what you see is because a lot of times what you see is based on your perception of what you want to see. And so in the casino, when we were inspecting roulette tables, I would watch 2 tables and you moving from one table to another, checking bets, making sure things are 100%. And you'd get guys that would take chances or cheat or, stuff like that. And so we would know who to look out for. And there's times when, you look and you really believe you saw it and you're like, no, he definitely put that chip on after. And then they go back, review the tapes, and they show you on the tape that it's not like that. And so, that really taught me that don't believe everything you see. A lot of times you might look at, someone with your girlfriend and, you might look at it differently purely based on your perception of the person that's in that situation. So, you can take it to every level in life and people and dealing with people. So, for me, I think that's something that stuck with me from the casinos. Dealing with money, I think a lot of people place a lot of value on money, but money for me it's not a physical thing. And I think a lot of times people get so caught up in getting driven about money and their money and how precious it might be. But I don't feel the same. I think, if you have a better relationship with money, then money will look after you. It's your relationship with money that determines where you go. So yes, you have to look after it and you have to, save money. But also, for me, one of the secrets to living is giving. And, the more you give, the more you get. And, it doesn't make sense for people that, don't want it to make sense because they don't try it. So they never give, they're always holding and fighting to keep, and so they never have. And so you'll find that the most successful people and people with money generally are very giving. Whether it's to charities, to support people, to look after people around them. And I find that for me is very important, is, the more you give, the secret to living is giving.
Yeah, I think rather than having that scarcity mindset where you want to keep all the knowledge to yourself and whatever, it doesn't really get you that far at the end of the day. But you spoke about like people that didn't really have a lot of money and they would make like high risk and make big bets and stuff like that. I find it quite interesting because they often say what you spend your money and your time on is actually what you value.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, so, the biggest thing with casinos, I suppose, is don't play with money you don't have. The casino will always win. They didn't build these buildings, casinos, out of nowhere. They built the whole of Vegas. Vegas runs, I mean, I got married in Vegas. It's an unbelievable place, but you can't go and play, gamble with money you don't have, because then your perception around money changes. Because now I'm desperate. And when I become desperate, you start doing, silly things. So, and the casino will always win. The odds are not in your favor. So, casinos are there for entertainment. It's there to go have fun. It's not there to go and make money. There's some people that'll tell you can beat the system. The casinos are still there making money every single day, every single month. It's an addiction. It's very much like alcohol and drugs. If you get caught up in it and you start chasing, you're going to lose. That's just the bottom line. If you start chasing, you're going to lose. If you go and have fun with mates, and enjoy it, you'll make money. You'll win sometimes, you'll lose sometimes. But, you want to keep it there. The minute you go past that and you start getting into a situation where you feel like you're chasing money, it's time to quit.
You're never really going to catch it.
You're not going to catch it.
So
it's going to catch you.
So I find it quite interesting talking about the casino and everything. You've got this cap that says live lucky.
Yes.
Do you think that we create our own luck?
Yeah, I think we do in a lot of ways, with the way we approach life. Again, it gets back to the secret to living is giving. The secret to living a great life is gratitude. Waking up every day and being grateful for what you have, long before you have bigger things. And I think a lot of people want big things, and they say, when I get it or when I have it, then I'm going to be this person. But life doesn't work that way. And most successful people that you meet and speak to will tell you that you have to be that person first, and then life changes and gives you the luck and the breaks. But it's because you believe before it's happened. And it's one of the biggest things that I believe is in your future history. You have to start visualizing yourself there. See yourself already there, even though you're going through the tough times and it doesn't always make sense right now. When you can see it and believe it in the future, you can create it, and it happens. And you hear so many people say that. It comes from Muhammad Ali to the Irish kickboxer, everyone. So it's a fact of life. I've lived it, I've seen it, and I think it's very important to be able to do that, is to look, to not only set goals, but to visualize them, to visualize yourself in a place before you get there. And then wake up every day living as if you're there. And that's the hard part, is that, when things get tough, it's easy to fall into the default of, oh shit, it's so tough. No, that guy just did it because they're lucky, or that person, and, get away from what you need to do to get to where you need to be. Stay away from other people and really comparing yourself. I find that for me has been, one of the biggest things, is just to stop looking around at what other people are doing. And really, if you 100% are doing 100% of what you should be doing every day, putting in the effort, doing the hard graft, things will turn. Like it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be in a week. But my goals aren't a week away. My goals are big. I've got to set 5-year goals, 10-year goals. And I did this years ago. And the things I said 20 years ago, I'm living now. And so, I know because I had a vision board, I had a house up, and all the stuff that I put there, I'm, happily married with kids, and, all these things are now in my life. And so it's things that I believed long ago, but I knew I was working towards them every day. And that's where the gratitude comes in, is be grateful for what you have, even if it's not where you want to be. Because if you can't be grateful for what you have now, you're not going to get more. Even if it's a shitty life that you have right now, be grateful that you have arms, legs. Start with the basics. I wake up every morning and I do gratitude every single day of my life. And I lie in bed and I'm grateful for, first of all, when I wake up, is that I'm Robert Greene and my arms and legs are working. And then I'll, touch the wall behind me and I'll be like, I'm grateful for my house, for my life. And then I start with my family and I go into everyone in my family. I mention, D, Buddha, down Corey, my brothers, my sisters. I literally just go through names. And then even into my office, I'll start at the bottom left corner and I'll start with the call center managers and I'll go into all the field managers. I'll go into all my admin staff. I'll go into Cape Town, Durban, PE. And I'll just say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And, it just starts me off in the right place. When I start my day, I'm already in a better place because I'm so grateful for everyone around me. And, they add so much value. And, I might not show them that much, sometimes I suppose, because, I get busy and my mind races and, I've got a lot of things going on. I'm running, quite a lot of different things. So, my mind is always racing. So I suppose I don't always walk up and say, well done to people all the time. But, I do think about them every day. And be thankful for them every day.
That's a great thing that you're able to be conscious of those things in your life, because a lot of the time I feel like we're only grateful for things once it's happened. Then we look back at it and we're like, oh, that was actually such a special time. I wish that I was more grateful during that time.
Yeah.
And like you say, how you do the gratitude in the morning, I started a thing, I think I'm on day 371 today.
Okay.
So after each day, I write down at least 3 things that either went well or that I'm grateful for in the day.
Okay.
And I just found that often, and I've mentioned this in the podcast before, but I'd find that, let's say something wrong happens at work. Then by the time I go to bed, I'm like, oh, write it off, shit day. And when I started doing this, I'd have to intentionally look back at the good, positive things that happened in my day. And I'd go, wow, I had a phone call with my dad that was very special. Or, I caught up with an old friend from school and we had such a cool conversation.
Yeah.
Or, and your brain just focuses on one negative and then the day is ruined.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to remind yourself to be grateful of those smaller things.
Yeah.
Changes your whole outlook on the day.
A whole outlook on the day and on life. If you're focusing on positive stuff, there's more positive things that happen. You identify more positive. You stay away from negative people because generally, there's people in our lives that are just negative people. It just is what it is. And, you need to learn by gratitude that, yes, I'm grateful for you, but I don't need to deal with your negativity, or have it in my space. So, I'll rather do things to avoid you and hang out with people that are positive and that are talking about their goals and where they're going and seeing the positive side of things. Bad things happen to everybody. But, what I found in working with people, and so, I run offices in direct sales, and you got guys coming in every morning and everybody's got issues. Guys will come and it's my mom this and, my family, my girlfriend, and there's, excuses and stories for days. And they'll offload it on me as a manager when I first started. And, I would have my own personal shit. And what I learned was very quickly that, no one really cares. Like, as long as they get their turn to talk, then, and I give them some sort of feedback, they don't really care about my life. And maybe that's really the whole story, is that the people that are out there looking for attention, just be aware of it, because they just maybe just need a bit of attention. So, that's really all it is. Because if I'm telling you my story, I've had people tell me like some of the deepest, darkest stuff, and I'm just like, okay, that's, quite weird for the first time we've met, that you can go, into deep stuff like that, like my mom beats me, or, stuff. And I'm like, wow, okay. But maybe that's the same story you tell everyone, because some people give you sympathy and treat you differently for that. And so, for me, I think leave your problems at the door, especially in a work environment. And when you're around people that you work with, I went through phases in my career where I was too close with people at work, included them too much in my personal life. And not everybody can deal with stuff I can deal with. And so, it changed the relationship, and long term created problems, I suppose, for me and for them, because, I'm a different being. I can handle things that other people can't. And, and I suppose those are the lessons I learned, is to, to keep things within my space. Work is important. Don't bring your problems to work. Like, I think a lot of times people feel they have to, but the less people know about your personal stuff, if you're doing the right stuff, you're going to grow and you're going to get places. If you're always using the challenges and the issues in your life as an excuse for you not to do well, then you're just going to keep not doing well. And I think there's a fine line between, if you need help, then speak to the right people. I think that's always important. I'm sure if you don't have family, then there's counselors and people that, can actually take you on face value. I don't think you should be talking to just anybody and everybody just because it's my friend that they need to know my problems. Because even your friend doesn't understand, half the time. If they're a real friend, they'll just be like, okay, good luck with that. Because that's really all the advice I can give. Because I'm not a counselor, for example, but for me, I've learned to deal with a lot of different situations because I deal with people. I mean, thousands of people have come through our business. And it's an interesting topic, I suppose. Yeah.
Well, it looks like you put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, because going from a blackjack dealer who has to deal with people all the time as a shy person, and then you went into cold calling and knocking on doors. I mean, that's hard for an extrovert even at times.
Yeah, so the casinos helped with that, because obviously I was dealing with people and money. And then I started in the direct sales business in 2003, 15th of August. Was my first. I went for my interview on the 14th. And my interview day was quite interesting. I mean, went on. My interview was for training, management training program, and I arrived in reception. I was dressed in a suit. I still had my tie on with. It had a royal flush on the tie. I remember that because the trainer that took me out used my tie as an example. Which is part of the interview process. Obviously, I learned this later, but she took me out to an industrial area out in the south in Alberton, Al Road, and basically we got to Al Road, and she asked me, if, after she had explained like the tire thing and retail versus direct sales and all of that stuff, and she pulled out a keepsake. I'll never forget. There were 3 products that day, but there was a keepsake, which was basically like a book that you open, and inside it's got like clay on the one side and it's got a picture frame on the other side. And it was basically called a keepsake. And basically what you do is, when your child's born, you do a footprint or a handprint on the one side, and then you can put the photo and, you can make it all pretty. So he asked me like, how do we know if anyone would want this product around here? And I was like, I mean, I don't know. never done sales, but happy to listen. And basically the idea was that the more people you speak to, the more product you're going to sell. I mean, that's the law of average. 1 in 10. If you speak to 10 people, one person's going to buy. And so, we put the keepsake in a black bag, like a kit bag. And then there was a picnic set. It's actually like you get them at Cape Union Mart. So you zip it open and it's got 4 plates, 4 knives, 4 forks. And then in the back, it's got a cooler where you can put like some stuff. So it's a picnic backpack, basically. And the picnic backpack was, retailing in stores like Cape Union Mart for like $6.99. We were outselling them at 200. So you save nice 499 Rand. It's a great deal, right? It is so that was my introduction to direct sales. And we walked through the first 20 doorways and just got negatives. And I think after half an hour of walking around, I was thinking, what am I actually doing here? I should maybe phone someone and just get out of here. But my phone was off because that was part of the interview, was to switch your phone off. And then something crazy happened. We walked into a company, and Alice, the girl I was with, walked into the security guard, where a lot of other security guards had said, no, we can't. She said, no, we've got an appointment with the manager, whatever. And the guy was like, okay, go. And we walked in, and we walked into an admin office, and there were like 3 or 4 admin people sitting around, ladies. And Alice walked into the middle of the room and just put the bag down and just started pitching. She's just like, hi, everyone. I'm just in the area doing this massive promotion. You're not going to believe what we're doing today. Jumped in and pulled out the keepsake, started pitching it. The one lady was, oh, that's pretty cool. And then she pulled out the picnic backpack. And the other lady was like, oh, those are really cool. We could use those for corporate gifts. How many? And then she started pitching, and we ended up dropping 2 boxes. It was 6 in a box, so 12 of them in one place. So, I went from wanting to leave the interview 10 minutes earlier to now running to the car to fetch more stock, to drop off stock, with this lady. So, it's sort of, so I sort of looked at that and I went, well, that wasn't so tough. And then, we got to lunchtime and she explained the management training program, and they said to me, you can go from starting out selling like I'm doing today, to becoming a training manager within 6 to 8 weeks. And then within 6 to 8 months, you can actually be running your own office and campaign. And I was like, 6 to 8 months, like I've just come out of the casino industry where it took me 10 years to get to management, not even middle management. And they told me it's going to take me another 10 years to become a manager. So, I mean, and you telling me now in this, I can be 8 months, I can be a manager. I was like, okay, well, it doesn't sound true, but, I'm going to check it out because, this time I'm looking for growth. I'm 29 years old. My life's in a crazy place, and I'm just like, I want to, go places. And, so I ended up starting in that company, and here I am 22 years later.
When it comes to direct marketing in South Africa, few companies have the reach and impact of Real Promotions. Founded over 20 years ago, Real Promotions has grown into a true powerhouse, specializing in field sales, brand activations, call center services, and campaign execution, delivering real, measurable results for major clients in telecom, finance, and more. But Real Promotions is much more than that. Its creative arm, Real Global Productions, offers cutting-edge music, podcast, and video production services, helping artists and brands bring their stories to life with professional quality and innovative flair. The company is also shaping futures through Real Pro Academy, a training division dedicated to empowering young people with the skills and experience they need to succeed in sales, marketing, and leadership. From launching careers to building brands, and even expanding internationally, Real Promotions is a dynamic force turning opportunity into real success. This is the story of Real Promotions, where business grows, people thrive, and impact lasts.
Still running in the same type of industry, and then some other stuff.
And you grew quite quickly in that.
Yeah, so I started off. In 7 days I got promoted to a trainer. Purely because I got the sales side quite easily. I wasn't too sort of phased with the negatives. I was really good at overturning them and having fun with customers because I had dealt in the casinos with people. You get a lot of one-liners and you learn to be a little bit cocky and, sort of overconfident in some ways. And I just had a really good work ethic. So, I mean, I used to fly in between doors. Our law of average was we had to speak to 300 people a day. So we would literally leave in the morning, go to the territory by 9 o'clock, and literally start from one company, just walk in. Hi, how you doing? We're just in the area doing this massive promotion. You're not going to believe what you're doing. And whatever we're pitching, whether it's knife sets, donkeys, singing donkeys, chess sets, water bottles, pens, I've sold, pretty much everything. And, and the law of average is a fact. You walk in, people tell you, get out, no hawkers. And when they, so if the customer would say no hawkers, I'd be like, where's the hawker? It's not me. Come, check it out.
Yeah.
And people would have a laugh.
Make it a bit lighthearted.
Yeah, make it lighthearted, have fun. And the more fun you have, you just find people start engaging. I've walked into boardrooms where people are having serious boardroom meeting. And I'm like, walk in. I guess you guys are wondering why I gathered you all here today. And obviously someone will laugh, and then you like, check this out. And I put a product in hand. The guy who's running the meeting, I've been thrown out. They're like, get out of my And then you walk out with your tail between your legs and, your sort of confidence broken. But other times, everyone ends up buying, and you walk out and they're like, I don't know how you did that, but well done. So you sort of learn to take on things that you don't believe are possible. Selling Christmas toys in January. I mean, broken Christmas toys for that matter, like a Santa that normally moves properly, that's now broken, only doing one thing, and selling it with a triple price breakdown where it's like, okay, it's $300 in stores. We were doing them for $150, but because it's obviously just gagging a bit, it actually looks like a dance though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to give it to you for $80. You can save it for next year Christmas. And, you end up selling like Christmas stuff in January. And so the field teaches you so many things. They said they've got a great saying around direct sales, and it's, you don't need to love the field, but you need to respect the field, and the field will respect you back. And I think that was probably one of the toughest things was learning to, number one, recruit and build a team, because you have to actually not only get good at the sales, I now need to convince someone else that, you can do this. And walking around trying to convince someone that selling toys, you're going to become successful and you're going to be running your own office and you're going to be, is not always the easiest thing. And, that taught me that your example is everything. People buy into you more than, and the opportunity, but they buy into you. If they can't see that you're actually going somewhere, they're not going to follow you. And if you're the one that's complaining and talking and moaning, like, you can't expect people to think you're going to get somewhere, and we see it every day. Direct sales is tough. But at the end of the day, if I believe that's where I'm going, then all of these things are just on the way to my success. They're not in the way. And I think a lot of people have that mentality that things are in the way of them getting where they're going, instead of that they're on the way. It's just on the way. I'm still going there. Even if it's slowing me down right now, it feels like I might not get there. It's on the way. I'm going to get past it. I'm going to get through it. And once I get through it, I'm stronger for it. I'm better for it. And I keep growing and I keep pushing. And other people will get to certain points and they'll go, no, that's too far. I'm out. And they'll leave, or they'll, go pursue something else or try. And, kudos to that. You know what I mean? It's not for everyone. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it, right? But, so, I got promoted in 7 days to trainer. I then built a crew within 3.5 months. So I started in the 15th of August. By December, I had 4 trainers on my team. And to get promoted to assistant manager, you need 5 trainers. So I was basically pushing for assistant manager in 4.5 months. And, then sort of December happened, and it was one of those in the way or on the way moments. And yeah, my manager that I was working with had one of my team leaders in his car. We were going to a Christmas party, and he got into a car accident. And one of the guys on my crew, Peter, his name was also Peter, funny enough, he got smashed in the face. He was okay, ended up going to hospital, getting stitches, but started the new year and, just didn't want to carry on in the business. One of the other girls on my team, her dad decided she needed to go study, and this direct sales thing is a farce. And so she left. And, then I started the year with down to 3 trainers. And then I went through January, February, March, April, May, June. And I just couldn't build. I had guys on my crew, guys coming, going. And it was probably the toughest time for me, because now I'd been in the business almost a year. I had a lot of financial pressure. Obviously, my kids were young, 6 and 3 at the time. And struggling, you're not making a lot of money in the field. We're selling toys. The goal was 1,000 Rand a week, 1,005. I was really good. So I was getting up to, 1,005, 2,000, pitching multiples and doing whatever it takes to make money. But still, coming from a stable job, medical aid pension in the casinos to, walking door to door, commission only,
a lot of rejection
was frowned upon, let's put it that way, by everyone around me. And I suppose that's also where I learned, who your friends are, because, some of the friends that I had were like, just leave it, go back to the casinos, get your job back, the jobs are still there. And 1 or 2 of my friends were just like, okay, I don't know what you're doing, but if you believe it, keep doing it. And I think that sort of for me defines who your friends are, is they don't always need to understand what you're doing, but they know you as a person, and they trust that your judgment in that scenario is good, because they can see how hard you're pushing and how hard you're working for it. And that's really what I was doing. I was working, I was in the office 5:30 every morning, getting home at 8:30, 9 at night. Just work training people, honing my skills. Yeah, and then in about, I think, August, September, I almost left the business. I sat my 3 trainers down. I said to them, look, I'm done. I don't think I can do this anymore. And they actually said to me, you can't leave. So I was like, no, I can. And they're like, no, you can't. You brought us into this business and we believe in you and we think we want to get it done. And I'm like, okay, but, then we have to change some things, because, like right now, we just all average. We're not putting in the extra effort as far as recruiting and building the team and getting this thing done. And we made a pact that in the next, I think it was 3 weeks, if our situation hadn't changed dramatically as a team, then I was going to have to make other decisions. And we went from the 4 of us to 17 guys in our crew in a 3-week period. And then I pushed through and got promoted to assistant manager. And then by December, I was promoted into my own office in Centurion, where I started up with 6 guys in 2005, basically. Well, 2004. Yeah.
And
so it was,
today you got a team of?
Today, I've got a team of over 300 nationally. I've had bigger teams through the years, but I think we just I think our goal, I've actually got a national meeting tomorrow. So this is good warm up for me because I have to talk about a lot of this stuff in a shorter period, or in a similar period, actually. But Yeah, I think, direct sales is a crazy business, but we've got a good team around us. Everyone I've worked with in the last 22 years, I've seen go places. And even the guy that trained me is still doing well. He's still in direct sales. So yeah, I think, if, and it's not necessarily that you'll stay in direct sales. I think you learn a lot of different skills in this business, and in what we do, that can carry you through anything. And we've probably been the breeding ground for most fiber companies. They love recruiting real promotions people. I've half the, I don't want to mention other companies' names, but half their teams, 50, 60, 70% of their teams, their management teams have come through, started in my offices, trained here, grew to a certain point, and then, felt, they would prefer in the corporate environment or moving into that space. And I believe that's great. I don't think that entrepreneurship is for everyone. I think it's something that we definitely teach. We want, like, work for yourself. Yes, working for yourself and being an entrepreneur are two different things. Yeah, your mindset, the way you think, the way you have to push through situations, the amount of pressure you can cope with, I think is a very important thing. I sometimes just feel I don't want to say I'm not smart, but I'm just emotionally, I don't feel the same around like pressure situations as other people, because I can see with other people that have come on this journey with me through different phases when things get tough, when they didn't know a lot about certain things, it was okay and didn't bother them and things were okay. But the minute you open them up to what's really going on and you sort of open the curtain and you go, okay, but this is really what's happening financially and this is happening and that, and all of a sudden they change and they become scared. And it's like, okay, but then don't want to know what's here then. Rather stay where you are and focus on what you do, because then you're in a good place and you make things happen. When you have this extra pressure and stuff, it kills you. And so, different people react differently to that type of, pressure. And so I think it's not everybody that can do that. And that's good. I mean, I can't be a great entrepreneur without good people around me that are unbelievable at what they do. And so I believe, I mean, I've got a lot of people that work with me and have worked with me that have been way smarter than me. They're way smarter than me in what they do, in the space they're in. They're just not me, and they can't do what I do. And I don't know how I do it half the time. But, I've got a knack for it. And, I love doing it. I love working with people. I love starting new businesses. I love being, what do they call it? Risk averse. So I'm very much that person where I'm not scared of taking a risk. I'll take it. I'll do it before you've even thought. When you say it, I'm doing it already. And, I've failed at so many things. I've had a lot of projects that haven't kicked through, that haven't, got me where I'd like to be. But it's been a great journey. I mean, I'm living my best life. I think, yeah, there's still some things I want to do, some big things. We're busy building a training company, and I think that's sort of our next step, is to take the training that we've been doing for 10 years and start really expanding that into, yeah, I mean, I've been doing it anyway, and other people are recruiting all the people we train. So we're obviously doing a lot of what the country needs. And a lot of companies are getting paid for that. And so, we just in the process of sort of building something that can take us to that next level now.
What would you say to someone who has a dream?
Keep dreaming. I think keep dreaming, but know that without goals, and I'm pretty much rehearsing some of the stuff that's coming up in videos, but it's facts. I mean, without goals, your dreams mean nothing. Without the hard work, action is everything. Even you can set goals and have dreams, but if you're not taking the action, the day-to-day action, and I think that's really the thing that I learned so early in this business is, they started teaching me to set just daily goals. Like, what are my goals tomorrow? I'm going to go out and speak to 80 people. I need to work on closing. I need to just having those goals for tomorrow. And then if I achieve those goals for tomorrow, then my goal is to become a trainer in a week. And so what do I need to do? I need to finish my COD1. I need to do this. I need to, and all of a sudden, just all these goals. And you start going, next thing it's a 4-week goal and an 8-week goal and a 3-month goal. But the daily goals, I have to win every day. And when I learn to win every day, and sometimes I don't win, but that just means that goal carries to tomorrow because I have to go win tomorrow. It's just part of the journey. I'm like, failure is part of winning. If you can't fail, then you can't win. Like, if you're a bad loser, you're just going to stay a bad loser. You have to learn to lose with dignity. You know, take it in your stride. It's part of the game. I'm not saying I love losing. I hate losing. Like anybody. I think we all, if you've been in sport or done anything, I mean, I still play, action cricket at a high level right now. And fuck, I hate losing. You know, it's a fact. But also, it's my game has improved so much by taking losses, by challenging myself against people that are better than me, or that I perceive to be better than me. Because the more I play, the more I start seeing everybody's got skills. It's just, you know, on the day that you're able to pull yourself through and put your best foot forward. But yeah, I think dreams are important, you know, and yeah, I think you see it in children. I mean, you know, they don't have issues with anyone. It's just later in life that we start having issues. You know, we're not born that way. I think society creates things, and impressions, and yeah, unfortunately, it is what it is. But you know, the more you go through life, and I think for me, realizing in my 20s that everything I'd learned as a child, there was some good stuff, but a lot of it was just not true. You know, and our parents are obviously trying to mold us around the way they want things to be, or believe life is for you as an individual. My mom wanted me to be an engineer. You know, she believed that that was the way to go. And I went and studied for 6 months, and you know that didn't work out. But even when I was going through my tough times, you know, building my business and whatever, all the people that didn't believe I was on the right track, eventually, you know, were the ones that were saying, "Oh, you know, well done, you know, you lucky," or you know. But I think that's something that DeMartini teaches, is that, you know, the people that push the hardest in the space that they're in to get to where they are, all the naysayers eventually will turn and have to eat their words at the end of the day. And I think, you know, that's the beauty is, if you stay true to yourself and you've got a good cause and you're affecting people in a positive way, it can only be positive long term. You know, if you're really putting in the effort to try help other people, and it's the toughest thing to do. I think it's one of the lessons that I know. You know, I've seen guys try build teams, but they're just so self-centered, and most people are. And so, you know, when you stay self-centered, it's very difficult for you to really care about someone else. And I mean really, like really care. Like past your self-care and your own family and your own friends care. And when you can have that type of care for every person around you without getting too involved, I think that's a cool place to be.
Well, Rob, going back to having a dream, I think by you having a dream and believing in that dream, I'm not at the place now where I have as many followers or as many subscribers as I'd like, but I've been doing this for just under 2 years now. And if you hadn't believed in your dream, I wouldn't have been able to start my dream. So thank you for believing in your dream.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's been fun. I'll definitely come back and do some more. I think we've sort of scratched the surface on some stuff. But yeah, it's been amazing. And I think this podcast space is obviously growing. And the more you sort of put in the effort and keep doing the graft, it will grow. You know what I mean? It's you're a passionate young guy and you've got your goals, and so you should be good.
Thanks, Rob.
Pleasure.
Cool.